Some words and phrases are tossed around in our culture with such frequency and abandon that though they may have at one time carried with them a sense of power, their overuse has left them all but meaningless. Love is one of those words. The same word is used when signing off on correspondence, when describing our favorite food, movie, song, or book, and when recounting how we are supposed to behave toward our neighbor. Its overuse has rendered it almost meaningless. Thoughts and prayers are other words that have become empty and worthless over time, thanks to our elected officials and their trite response to gun violence and other tragedies, which they have the power to do something about but don't. The phrase has lost its power. And the word bless, along with its derivatives, blessings and blessed, are words which we no longer give a whole lot of thought anymore. Prior to COVID, while standing in line at the post office, a person's sneeze might have automatically elicited half a dozen responses of bless you. Now, not so much. People just discreetly step away. But the youngster who checks out your groceries continues to pronounce their blessings upon you from behind their plexiglass shield with the words, "Have a blessed day," but without so much as a glance in your direction. So what's taking place in our text when it says Jesus took the children in his arms and blessed them? It seems as if it was more than an automatic response to a sneeze or a polite dismissal from the grocery line. Something important was happening here. And what does that have to do with the LGBTQIA+ community? If we want to know, we have to go all the way back to the first chapter of Genesis, which tells us that after God created every living creature that moves, God blessed them, with the future telling them to bear fruit and increase in numbers. Likewise, when humankind was created, God pronounced a blessing, telling them to also fill the earth and to be responsible for it. So one of the things that takes place with blessings is the assurance of a promising future for the one receiving the blessing. I think that may have been part of what was taking place in our gospel reading. Healthcare for the average first-century peasant in Galilee was such that there was no guarantee that a youngster would not be taken out by some disease before they even reached the age of accountability, much less adulthood. So when mothers were bringing their children to this powerful healer, it was probably in the hopes that he would bless them with words that assured them of a long and prosperous future. As a person whose job description includes, among other things, the dispensation of blessings, I've been fortunate enough to be paid to imitate Jesus by blessing both infants and young children. It's a delight to watch the proud parents holding the baby or escorting the youngster forward in their brand new store-bought clothes. And each time I look into those fresh eyes of innocence, I pray that God will bless them with a rich and full and safe future. It's at that moment that I feel as close to God as I ever get. And that's something you need to know about giving blessings. Blessings aren't quick automatic responses to a person, or at least they shouldn't be. Instead, they are thoughtful proclamations which bring the person pronouncing the blessing in alignment with the Creator of the cosmos. But there are folks who would deny a future for members of the LGBTQIA+ community. People like this morning's disciples who feel that some folks aren't entitled to the same future that others have. And if Jesus was indignant in this morning's text, he's just as outraged today, maybe even more so, when the queer community is not only denied a blessing, but when it's done in the name of God. Another thing that takes place when I offer a blessing is the pronouncement of the innate holiness and sacred worth of the receiver of my blessing. Returning to the book of Genesis, we're given an account of Jacob, who seemed to have such low self-worth that he just couldn't ever get enough blessing to counteract his sense of disconnectedness and unholiness. He cheated his brother out of a rightful blessing that his blind father thought was being bestowed upon his brother. And while sleeping beneath the stars in his dreams, God blessed him, even though it didn't seem to take. And later on, apparently still feeling unblessed, he wrestled an angel and wouldn't stop until the angel or God or the night visitor, the text isn't really clear, had blessed him. What he didn't realize was he was already blessed. He had been born blessed. He was sacred and holy from the moment of birth. I have blessed homes and church sanctuaries and dogs and cats and relationships and gatherings around the table. And each time I do, I'm not conferring holiness upon them, but acknowledging the holiness that already exists. Yesterday's celebration was an explosion of holiness. It was a convening of Christians and pagans and spiritual but not religious and more. It was a riot of color and sequins and glitter and spandex and hair of every hue imaginable. There were bodies of every size, people of every age, skin of every color, all bound up in laughter and dancing and belonging. Especially belonging. Everyone belonged. And that, more than anything else, made it a sacred and holy event. The disciples in our text tried to draw the line between who should be blessed and who shouldn't. They saw the children as something less than sacred and holy. Religion has also become skilled at drawing lines. Extremist religions of every type have created doctrines and dogmas that say what is required to belong. And anyone who transgresses those doctrines and dogmas is deemed unworthy of belonging, unworthy of blessing. But the LGBTQIA plus community, the queer community, by definition, is a community of transgressors. We push the envelope and erase the lines that separate one from another. And yet, Jesus takes us in his arms, lays his hands on us, and blesses us. Not conferring on us holiness, but acknowledging and proclaiming the innate holiness that is already embedded within us. So today, I want to do the same as I close with my own blessing. You can call it Charlie's Queer Blessings. It's inspired by Jesus's Beatitudes found in the Gospel of Matthew. Blessed are those who live authentically in the way God has created them to live, for their world will be opened to a cosmos of possibilities. Blessed are those who mourn broken relationships with families of origin, churches, and peers, for they will be comforted by newfound families and friends. Blessed are those who have been brought low by words like abomination, pervert, sinner, and worse. For in living out their truth, they will rise above those words like a phoenix from the ashes. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after justice for all LGBTQIA plus people, for their tireless efforts will inspire others to join the cause for equality. Blessed are those who treat haters with mercy and compassion, for in doing so, the hater experiences the face of God. Blessed are those who have not allowed their hearts to become jaded, even after years of mistreatment from haters, for it's their untarnished hearts that enable them to experience the presence of God. Blessed are those who work for peace and reconciliation within their own churches, families, and workplaces on behalf of God's LGBTQIA plus children, for they recognize that we are all children of God. Blessed are those who are bullied and belittled for their stubborn belief in liberty and justice for all people, for the time will reveal that they are standing on the right side of history. Blessed are you when you are reviled because of who and how you love or because of how you present yourself. Although it may feel like it at times, know that you are not alone. Amen.